We come into a time of decisions, of methods. One represented one represented by the present government that has blocked the or trying to block the Chinese market. So the manufacturers can be managed by other countries or in other countries by the same companies, which is starting to happen in Africa and Latin America. Or in the same country, the United States. But it has the mistakes of choosing to disrespect the minorities by ignoring them, or simply deny their petitions, or not letting them get away with what they want. For instance, the destruction of the monuments in the capital, or getting the police into reformations, or getting the federal government into asking for forgiveness because of the abuses of authority. Plus the manipulations of other countries into the winning of elections. What happened before the first term that became the first term of Trump, or the racist remarks that this president has been having in his speeches, in his attitude, or the bad managing of the virus crisis, not putting importance into it, not giving the necessarily predictions of what it needed to happen. Talking about the measurements that had to happen before, the face masks, the social distance, the quarantines, the lockdowns that should have been done before, but it shouldn't. That should have been done in other ways, but it shouldn't. That maybe it wasn't necessarily needed a total lockdown, but special measurements that got to happen, but late in the months. The government using masks set example of what should have been in the conduct by representatives or government officials, but it didn't until later. Or the last remark by the president that by admitted that he knew that the virus was little, but he didn't say anything, so not to fright or not to cause crisis where he needed to talk and do something about it. Or the respectful of the communities where the crises were happening by having representatives into the buildings of these communities without protections, without the security measures, or by attacking other countries in the speeches, like Mexico, by establishing or telling that Mexico should pay for the remain of the block in the border, where the money should have come from the United States or both countries, or the remarks against the Arab nations, establishing limitations or plus list of countries where that will suffer limitations in travel to the United States, where they needed another countries to be included or replaced by others, not because there were countries that shouldn't have been in the list, and replaced with others that should have been put in the list, or by provoking the Palestinians that shouldn't happen, because they have rights to equal as the Israeli state, because first of all it's a problem of historical proportions, but second of all it's a problem between them, but it should have been resolved by another country like the United States, by keeping the other promise that the English made to the Palestinians, that was made with the promise of the Israeli state, because Britain or the United Kingdom in that time promised both countries. It's another, in comparison, another candidate, that is Biden, that is the promotion of rights, the promotion of equality, but there's a danger there. That is to further the exclusivity of, or the manufacture of the companies into China, and regulate the manufacture of other countries, including the United States, plus giving promotion or fighting or making further the treaties that yes should have been signed but with limitations in regard to the nuclear treatment with Iran, where in many perspectives, in many opinions, should have been favorable to the United States too. Plus the maintenance or the recuperation of the policy of feet wet or feet dry that favorable the Cubans immigrants that gather into the beaches of Florida and other states. They come the danger that many Democrats have promised that about protection of the immigrants where or intervention in the Middle East where they denied the interventions or they promise protection for the immigrants where they have the same policies as the Republicans, which is the same restrictions or for more, like what happened to the Cubans, or in Obama government that it furthered the protection of the border between Mexico and the United States because that wall that strange strength of the border has been was continued by all governments, including the Obamas. Plus, the Obama administration tried to intervene in Syria, but he couldn't because of the denial or not acceptance as the international or international allies did with Bush. So Obama had to stop the idea of intervening, but Trump did intervene in some ways with bombing or airstrike, but nothing more. Plus, it's a way of life because there is lack of reforms, lack of necessity satisfies, but in this country everyone can satisfy the necessities by working because it's one of the only countries that if you work you could accomplish your necessities or even your dreams because the establishment, the institutions ensure them or make sure that if you respect the law and the system and if you know how to obey and complete your role. As the other, you could get helps getting get rights, get what its lack of right that is needed that the Supreme Court could give you, but it can also be at the cost of the great capitals that the Democrats will ask for, and they will need to satisfy the great capitals so they can keep paying for those helps. And even we don't know if they will want to pay more, or and plus how can the Democrats with all their ambitions could ensure these great capitals that their world, the way of life will be ensured, and to the rest of the Americans. So none of them are the Messiah, none of them are great. They have made promise, they have made mistakes, they couldn't fulfill what they wanted, because even Trump promised to stop the Iranians, the increased power of China, the stop of immigrants, but it couldn't. It's not that easy. Or give the manufacturer back to the United States, but he has been able to. But that's a way of life, or the other way of life. With rights, with helps, but it could turn into everyone is equal, but a little bunch of people will be wealthy and the rest poor, being in a line for food that it could be chosen for the people each week or each month, without the will to decide which meal or which state of the future or the present you want. It's a decision. It's not perfect. Neither of them are true or perfect or great, but it's one that each one has to decide.